All right, good morning and aloha. We're so grateful to be here gathered with our community leaders, community members, HPD, and we thank the news for being here to cover this press conference today. This morning is about action. It's about partnership and finally giving our communities the tools that they've been asking for to fight back against illegal game rooms and the violence that they bring. Before I begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge everyone who's standing here with me and demonstrating us working across city and state lines to get the job done. Right behind me, I have our Mayor, Honorable Rick Blangiardi, our County Prosecutor, Steve Alm, the Head of District 8, Gail Beckley, our Senator, Samantha DeCorte, Representative Chris Muraoka, and Representative Darius Kila. And also, oh yes, let's give them a round of applause. They're here. Thank you, Gail, for doing the clap. And to my colleague and co-introducer of Bills 11, 12, and 13, Councilmember Tyler Dos Santos Tam, who couldn't be here in person, but has been instrumental in moving these bills forward. And I want to acknowledge Peggy, his staffer, that's here with us. Thank you for being here. Every person here represents one piece of a broader puzzle that we need for Waiʻanae public safety. Together, we're showing what it looks like when local, state, and law enforcement agencies work together with urgency and purpose. So let's get started. I would like to start off with comments from our mayor. Please put your hands together for Rick Blangiardi.
Well, good morning, everybody. Well, let me reciprocate, first of all, acknowledge Councilwoman Tupola. Andrea's a real deal when it comes to leadership. Her passion for this community, her grit, her determination, her unwillingness to settle for anything other than what the best can be is something to be respected, and I certainly do appreciate that. So I don't think we were in office very, very long, back 4 years and 6 months ago, when the Waiʻanae Police Station became a topic of discussion. And we've been out here a bunch of times. We've understood the lament, if you will, about the fact that this thing was only half built and the ramifications of that. The fact that today now we're here to announce the fact that the money's been appropriated, $1.7 million, going with an architect and a planner. We're going to build this out. It's more than a building. This is a symbol for this community, and it's iconic. Not to mention the functionality that's going to apply and provide for the officers that work here. So I'm just excited that we're moving into the future here today. It's a good day for Waiʻanae. It's a good day for our island, and it's a good day for HPD. And I'm just really pleased and honored that we're able to get this done during this time. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Andrea.
We want to thank the mayor and his administration for their leadership, especially for the announcement of the funds being appropriated to get this station going. It's been about time, right, Waiʻanae? It's been about time. So I'm going to just announce the speakers in order, and then they'll come up. So we're going to start off with Major Beckley, then we'll go to Prosecutor Alm, followed by Senator DeCorte, followed by Representative Muraoka, and then concluding will be Representative Kila. And then I will talk about the bills that the mayor will sign into law. Let's go with Major Beckley. Please put your hands together.
Aloha, everyone. I'm Major Beckley, District 8, and I just want to thank everyone for being here today. More importantly, bringing us together, Councilman Tupola and Mayor, to reaffirm our commitment to the public safety. Someone recently asked me, what are your goals for the West Side, the community out here? It made me pause, not because I didn't have an answer, but because it reminded me of why I'm doing this. My goals are clear. I'm ensuring the safety of the officers who serve in my district and throughout HPD. My goal is to protect and serve the community, making Honolulu the safest place to live in Hawaii. But especially, I wanted to change that negative narrative around the West Side. Nanakuli, Maili, Waiʻanae, Makaha. Far too long has these communities carried an unfair reputation out here, and that needs to change. I want people to see what I see. I see families who care. I see youth with potential. I see community with pride and aloha. And we're working together with our partnerships, Safe and Sound West Side, increased patrols, youth outreach, school resource officers. This isn't just about law enforcement, it's personal to me. That's why I do not hesitate in signing this policy statement in support of decreasing crime on the West Side, because this is my kuleana, to lead, protect, and support. I'm committed to the safety of the officers serving the community and the people we serve. Together, we will ensure that the West Side and Honolulu becomes a place where families can live, grow, thrive with safety and dignity. Mahalo for believing in this mission and standing with us, moving forward, united, strong, committed to aloha. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. This is really a great day for law enforcement efforts to shut down game rooms. So much violence happens there. There are murders, there are drug cases, there are terroristic threatening, there are robberies. So I applaud the City Council for setting up the task force on gambling. The task force then made multiple recommendations back to the City Council. The City Council then passed the new legislation and the mayor signed them into law. There are game rooms all over the island. Waiʻanae is no exception, but you just saw the one most recently was in Kaka'ako. And working with HPD, managed to shut down more than 60 game rooms in the last year. I do want to make a point that there's an asset forfeiture bill on the governor's desk, and all of us are encouraging him to veto it, because that would really hurt our efforts to shut down these game rooms. It's House Bill 126. There are some commentators that don't want us to seize money collected at these game rooms, and we totally disagree with that. They seized $5,200 at this recent bust at the Kaka'ako game room. If that bill is passed into law, we wouldn't be able to seize that. It would go back to the organized criminals running those. We think that's a really bad idea. So to that, we'd say no. We want to work together, collaboration. I endorse what's been said already. The only way we get things done is collaboration. So we look forward to continuing to work together, and I'm really happy to be a part of this group to do that. Thank you.
Aloha and good morning. You know, I'm here on behalf of the state to say that we are dedicated to ensure the safety of the residents here on the Waiʻanae Coast. You know, we have pushed legislation to really crack down on gang activities. HB 699 and HB 1461 would impose harsher penalties, impose fines on those that are included in gang-related activities, those that are included in gambling offenses. Right now, there is no mandatory fines for gambling. So this is why we create a perpetual activity of these kinds of behaviors, is because there is really no consequence. Now, right now, the legislature is passing bills that are making it easier for ages 21 years and under to commit very violent crimes. HB 103 actually says if you're 21 years and under, then you will have the option of parole. And so this is not the kind of message that we want to send out to our community. Regardless of age, we want our criminals to know that there's a price to pay. And it's going to be at the hands of lawmakers that continue to push our laws to make sure that our residents feel safe. Now, HB 669 and HB 1461 was stalled this session, but we're going to continue to work with the chairs of our judiciary, our chairs of our public safety committees to ensure that when these laws are being passed and when these laws are being taken in consideration, that they consider the residents of the 96792, considering the increase of violence that we're having here on the west side, but also that the ages of the killers and the murderers are getting younger and younger. So we want to ensure that on the state side, we are creating an environment that lets our residents know that we are working aggressively to crack down on gang activities and gambling houses. So on behalf of the state, we want to just make sure that we continue to collaborate with the city and with our prosecutor's office, and especially with our HPD. You know, the completion of this police station is moving forward, and we are so excited. And these are the kinds of things that when we work together, along with our community members, along with our churches, our pastors, our coaches, our families, we will collectively be able to ensure the safety of the residents here on the 96792. So, mahalo. Thank you.
Aloha. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming out to the beautiful Waiʻanae, place I so proudly represent. So we've heard about a lot of these bills and a lot of these things. One thing I want to reiterate is the deterrence. How do we deter the gangs from happening? How do we deter the game rooms from popping up? We need our city, we need our state officials to do their jobs. We also need our prosecutors to do their jobs. We need to stop slapping these hands and letting them back go. We need our state, you guys all, everyone here has passed Tamuras, I want you guys all to pay attention on your way back out. We got trees overgrowing, blocking our lights, creating shadows of darkness where these things nest. The darkness out here, we got to stop it. On your way out, there's a tree growing over, blocking the street light, happens to be running right in front of Waiʻanae's most notorious game rooms. Okay? We need everybody involved to do their jobs. Signing a bill, passing an act, that's only a start. If we're not holding people accountable, this is all a waste of time. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I have the privilege to represent the neighboring districts of the Waiʻanae Coast from Nanakuli, Maili, Honokaihala, and Ko'olina. But when we are here today on this effort, it is the entire Waiʻanae Coast, because what happens in Nanakuli affects Makaha. What happens in Makaha affects Nanakuli. And I think to publicly thank her new role, our vice chair for the Honolulu City Council, Councilmember Tupola, and is that this is probably the most cohesive legislation that we've worked through this state session and maybe even council session of this is now my third year in office. And if I could take you folks back to 2023, that was my first year in office, and that fall we experienced at Nanakuli High School the largest uptick of student violence with each other and even outside of the campus, to where I'm not proud to say it, but historically, this was the first time that the Department of Education had to execute a private contract to bring in security guards to the school to help mitigate what was occurring. But through that effort, there was this idea that was brought forth by two community members, Kawia Simpson and Paul Ayol, that we were talking about this concept that exists in the contingent U.S. at schools, school resource officers. But if I could take you not that far, I'll take you to Maui County, where me and Councilmember Tupola discovered that these counties have implemented school resource officers like that. And Honolulu County, knowing we are double, triple the size of our neighbor island folks, we don't have that same capacity. But these school resource officers, they're not to be conflated with what HPD is supposed to do. I think when we talk about school resource officers that can exist in our schools, we want them to be the first entry for them to see that HPD is a community partner, it's a community neighbor, because our kids are the first line of defense to go against crime that's going to happen in our school. We've tried to make strides at the legislature with my colleagues back here, trying to figure out a way that the Department of Law Enforcement could take on this kuleana. But through Councilmember Tupola's efforts, and largely, I mean, talking about something that you folks all know, on the cusp of a interim HPD chief, on the cusp of having new HPD leadership, I cannot thank Councilmember Tupola enough for honestly taking a very bold stance to call for, and let me just clarify, I am thankful for Chief Logan, but for her to have made that bold statement of moving forward with new leadership at HPD, it is inherent that we need a chief that can retain, employ, and even bring back our officers, because none of this is going to happen if we don't have an increased police force. So I hope 1 year from now, when we have a new chief and everything is said and done, that we can look back that it was a catalyst of these moments, that we can get new leadership, more officers into the street, and with HPD set to move, these positions, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, will be upwards of $90,000 for our school resource officers to pilot on the west side of Oahu and to build out that infrastructure for the entire state. Because if I can tell the story now, what's happening here on the Waiʻanae Coast can happen in downtown Honolulu, in Pro City, the communities of Kauai and Hawaii Island. But if we can fortify what we're trying to do here to allow it to be the model, as Pastor Allen says, the light of the state will always shine from Nanakuli, and I'm so excited that we can bring a bill signing here like this, that the Waiʻanae Coast is to set forth the template for what we're going to try to do. So hold us to that. I hope in a year we can check in on amazing things, and all of this would not be possible without the leadership of Councilmember Tupola, Mayor Blangiardi, and her colleagues at the council. So mahalo, 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 mahalo.
Okay, we're about to call up the mayor, but let me just say a few more words. He is going to sign into law Bill 11, 12, and 13, and I will explain what those bills are. What everyone is alluding to is that there was a launch of a Waiʻanae public safety plan that was from our community. Last year, we had a town hall right here at Waiʻanae High School. Over 500 youth were there. So we don't need to walk around the community and say, I wonder what they think. I wonder what the community members want. No, we asked them. We did surveys. We wrote out a document so that we could itemize exactly what we need to move forward. We don't want to be reactive. Every time there's a shooting, we don't want to run around and figure out, what should we do? No, we need to execute, be proactive, and respond. So there's 3 parts to the public safety plan. It's addressing offenders, addressing locations, and as well helping our victims. So what Prosecutor Alm spoke about, as well as Senator DeCorte, is part of what we need to do with offenders is strengthen our laws, not just in the city, but in the state. And then Representative Muraoka and Representative Kila mentioned that these locations are problematic. They look like crime should happen there. In fact, our schools are not places where crime should happen, but it does. So we need to address the locations. And lastly, in the Waiʻanae Public Safety Plan, we suggest that we need many, many more youth services in our community, right, kids? We have 3 kids here. They're actually visiting us. I don't know if they're still here, from Boys and Girls Club Youth Leadership. These kids are begging for more programs, right? They're begging for leadership opportunities. There are so many kids in our community that do good. Just because there's 1 or 2 bad apples or 1 or 2 things that happens doesn't mean all the youth in our community are a lost cause. They are not. They will be the leaders of tomorrow, and we want to raise them as such. So at this time, I'm going to explain Bill 11 is actually creating fines for gambling devices. Bill 12 strengthens the relationship between DPP and HPD when we crack down on building code violations. And Bill 13 specifically addresses that landlords, and makes it more formal, that landlords work with HPD. I'm going to read a quote from my colleague who helped me with these bills. Councilmember Dos Santos Tam said, "This has been a long road, starting with Bills 57 and 58 in 2023 and the Game Room Task Force in 2024. We are here today celebrating Bills 11, 12, 13 over the finish line. Too many Oahu families have been feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods with the proliferation of illegal game rooms throughout the island. Our communities have been saying loud and clear, no to game rooms, no to violence, drugs, and vices that they bring. It's now the time to match our advocacy with action. Let's take down these game rooms and reclaim our communities," end quote. I need to double down on those words because the people standing right here behind me and the officers here know the community members live next to these game rooms where there are guns, where there is trafficking, where there is shooting. We need to take these out of our residential areas so that families feel safe. At this time, I want to call up our honorable mayor. He'll be sitting right here, and we are actually going to take the pen to the paper and sign these into law. And if all of the elected officials could come right here behind Mayor as he proceeds forward to put into law 3 tools that came from our Game Room Task Force led by the Prosecutor's Office, specifically with the help of Gabe Huntington. We thank him for all that he's done to help us get these legislation to the council. Thank you, Mayor.